how to start. I feel like I don't have the right way to start, but yeah, I'm gonna have to go with this. It's time for a new chat. Um, I wanted to think about this idea of why I believe it's important to do the right thing, as difficult as it can be, and also as relative as it can be, this notion of what is right and what is wrong. Um, so a while back, really, I read this in one of one of the books that I really enjoyed. That really, really, really stuck with me. I'm aware I'm using a lot of repetitive words, but I guess I feel strongly about some things. Um, and the quote is from this book called The Tools, written by Phil Stutz and Barry Michels. And it goes like this. Um, when no one takes responsibility for anything but his or her own well being, a civilization rots from within and finally collapses. The most famous example of this was the fall of the Roman Empire. Here's how Louis Mumford, the eminent American historian, described it. Everyone aimed at security, no one accepted responsibility. What was plainly lacking, long before the barbarian invasions, long before economic dislocations, was an inner go. Rome's life was now an imitation of life. Security was the watchword, as if life knew any other stability than through constant change or any form of security except through a constant willingness to take risks. And I realized that this is happening all around us these days. I I don't know when it started happening, or I don't know of a time. I haven't lived the time when I haven't seen it happen. Um, but basically, it's when people choose their own security, for which, granted, they've worked very hard, over what is the right thing. And I'm guilty of this as well. I mean, I've done it so many times. I couldn't find the courage to um, speak up, to say this is not right, this is not fair, um, because I was scared I was gonna lose everything I've worked for, um, and I would have, in my mind, that would have happened because the people who are in power, in those moments, were not people who were interested in, um, I don't know, hearing my perspective or changing things, or them themselves. They were not willing um, to take on these other fights for the sake of implementing or setting things right. So it's like a cascading effect, and but I think it's nonetheless. I think it's important to just start doing the right thing, or fighting the right fight, if that makes sense. So if we see something that's not right, or if we think we're being treated unfairly, I think it's important to maybe start, even if it's in small steps, to make our voices heard, with the risk of putting our career or whatever it is in danger, um, or the risk of losing our friends, or um, our close circle, because if we don't do that, ultimately it's still gonna end there, but it's like it's gonna end in um in disaster, let's say like that, through a way slower and more painful. As in, if you're not, if something, if you're not being treated fairly, and you just don't say anything because you think to yourself, well, I'm just gonna willpower my way through it, and I'm just gonna, you know, toughen up and just be strong and not say anything and just go through it as it is, because I don't want to have that fight. I don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation. And nothing's gonna change if I do this, or I might get fired, or people might make the black sheep out of me, and I don't want that. I want, this uh, sense of harmony that is existent now, albeit is dysfunctional harmony, as in like it's harmony maintained through dysfunctional mechanisms. I think if you choose not to act for these reasons, what's gonna end up happening, you're gonna slowly start to die inside. You're gonna become more and more unsatisfied with your life, and that place is definitely not gonna change, because if no one's speaking up, or that situation doesn't have to be a place, it can be just a situation, it can be a one-to-one type of situation, who knows. There's all kinds of variations of this. So nothing's gonna change, and basically it's like it's like uh the rusting process. So once an iron catches rust, it's just a process that keeps going, keeps going, keeps going until the iron is destroyed. So in a way, paradoxically, what you wanted to avoid to begin with is gonna end up happening, but the way it's gonna happen is through in a way more painful, uh, mm, through a way more painful process. Um, so whereas if you find the power um, to be honest about how you feel, you might actually there's at least one chance that other people might feel the same way as you, and even maybe this other people who are in power, or this other people that you're scared of, might actually feel the same way as you, and things might actually change. But if you don't, then there's no chance that things will change. And I think it's why it's important to maybe consider basically being a nice human being, or try to be as nice as possible in this life, is because even if you're in the highest position of power, let's say you're the richest person on the planet, or I don't know, you're in a very, very, very powerful position in your life, and you feel like nothing can touch you, and you feel you can get away with anything and everything, and it doesn't really matter, and you don't need to fight you know any of the right and wrong causes, because you're so powerful that you're safe. It's just a matter of time until someone will be I definitely believe it's just a matter of time until someone will be born in your family that's gonna be in a completely vulnerable position, and right then, and in a position where maybe you know the other members of your family will not be able to help them. So I always think, if that happens, or when that happens, actually, because it's just a numbers game, isn't it? Eventually it's gonna happen. I would want this world to be a good enough place, or a safe enough place, or a kind enough place, that this person from my family, this future person from my family, will be safe, will be looked after, will be taken care of. Um, I've witnessed in my life, um, so many times, people value being assigned to people based on what they earn, uh, in terms of money. So and I it's completely wrong. It's just completely wrong, because every life is unique and irreplaceable, and it's and um irrepeatable, isn't it? And we should treat every person as if they were a king or a queen in front of us, Um, because, as I said in other chats, you just don't have the overview. You don't know how valuable that person is. They might not look like much, or they might not earn much, or, they might not have the um, most expensive clothes, or they might not be the most beautiful, or whatever it is that this world currently favors. But they might have, they might be offering something to the world that's invaluable, and they are for sure are. They for sure are, because every one of us are bringing something that's necessary uh, in this world. Um, so that's why I think it would be good if we all aimed to be the best version of ourselves every day, to be the kindest and nicest version of ourselves every day. And the same book says it very nicely. But can the spiritual vitality of one person affect the rest of society? It can. Not only that, it's the only thing that can. Higher forces have always been and still are essential for successful societies, but in the past they came through institutions, spiritual leaders, or sacred ceremonies and rituals, traditional channels that didn't involve ordinary individuals. Evolution now demands that higher forces enter society only through the individual. That's why those traditional channels, through corruption, paralysis, or irrelevance, are losing their influence. Until individuals are empowered to replace them, we are a society lacking faith and purpose, which is why I believe there's this epidemic of mental health crisis. It's because people don't have a purpose, because people, maybe all of us, have forgot how powerful we can be in a good way. Although, as I've said, power can be corrupting and is corrupting, and that there's always the risk with the power. But then again, there's this endless life, and in the best possible way, an endless light within ourselves, this endless summer from which we can lead our lives. This resource that we can use to lead our lives, to lead uh, luminous lives, and great lives, and kind lives. I guess sometimes, in order to be kind, you have to be unkind, and sometimes life works in this way, this paradoxical way of, taking you through paths um, that taking you through paths where you will come to realize who you are not, in order to come to understand who you are. Um, so that can happen. So you can start as a villain in your life, and then end up as end your life uh, as a hero. Um, but I believe people generally don't have a purpose, um, a clear purpose anymore, and or if they have a purpose, they're not realizing that that purpose is to um, maybe mask a wound, to run away from a wound. But I think the purpose, the healthier or healthiest purposes, take both ourselves as well as others into consideration, and keep ourselves as well as others to the highest standard, to the highest degree of respect and honor. And that's a process, isn't it? Because we hurt each other, we hurt ourselves, and we hurt each other due to being due to lacking awareness into our feelings, into our actions. Why do I do the things that I do? Why do I want the things that I want? And through lack of awareness, we end up creating, we end up bringing sadness. But if we consciously choose, you know, to be the best person that we could be, our awareness levels are gonna increase with time, and we're gonna be able to make better choices or more informed choices. And then if we are to look back at the, times when our actions were less than optimal, we have to find the power to forgive ourselves, because at that specific point in time, that's all we knew. And yeah, so that's why I think it would be nice if we if we had that aim, because you know it's nice to be, I guess, to have resources, and as in to have money and to have nice clothes and to have whatever, to be rich. But ultimately, if all you had were riches, and there wasn't any other human being left on the planet, none of that would matter, isn't it? Because, like, how long can you stare at a diamond? 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, but then a fourth second, you're going to want to speak about that with someone else. And if there's no one else around, then what's the point? We were not, I don't think the purpose of us being on this planet is to hoard things. It's just to experience things, isn't it? But I guess, yeah, of course, for some people, and for all of us at some point, what we, but for sure, it's for all of us. What we experience is being less than optimal towards other human beings, and then, we learn some lessons from it. But, yeah, I don't think materialism is the way, and just being kind to our the people around us, and the nature around us. And that doesn't mean to be perfect, because there is no such thing as perfection. um but if we at least aim to be better every day, that would make such a change. And also, if we maybe give up this idea that anything belongs to us, in the sense of oh, I'm entitled to this, I'm entitled to that, or I should have priority, or whatever. Unless it's like a clear system with clear rules, in and you've played by those rules, and then, as a result of playing by those rules, that gives you a certain priority. That's a different discussion. But I mean, in general, I'm not, oh, I'm a human being, the other beings around me are animals, they're not talking, therefore I'm entitled to be the king of the planet. No, no, why? How do we know, like, the animals, they don't think? How actually do we know that? Just because they don't communicate in a way that we understand? I've always asked myself this question. Um, so that's what I mean when I say, we maybe it's not helpful to believe we're entitled to rule, or we're entitled to own, um, you know, um, to hoard things, or to hoard people, or to whatever. I genuinely believe the best gift you can give someone is freedom, and is respect. As in, I I accept you the way you are. I might not agree with you, but I accept you the way you are. And I think it's, yeah, the recent events that have happened in our world, when there was, uh, someone was shot because of their opinions. I believe that was a dangerous thing. That was a dangerous line to cross, um, because it's like, oh, my opinion is better than yours, and I take it upon myself to silence you, or to stop you from existing. And that's just it's fundamentally wrong, isn't it? Because it's, well, we don't bring life on this world Why do we think we're entitled to take it? Um, so, yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that I wanted to say on this, but yeah, no one is perfect. Um, but if I guess if we strive um, to be a little kinder to everything that's around us and a little more accepting. Accepting does not mean agreeing with, but I think the world will definitely be a nicer place. And if I always dream of this world where you can you can go outside, or you can just step in a sea full of strangers and you'll be safe. That's utopic at the moment, isn't it? And maybe it will still remain a very naive and utopic idea for another hundreds of years, but I do think it's possible. So being safe amongst a sea of people does not mean that those people love you, or but it just means that uh, there is a possibility we can build societies where we respect each other, and we treat each other with kindness, and as if we're kings and queens. And even though we might not agree on things, um, we we um, honor the life in the other. um, and we can just part ways without, if you don't agree with someone, you can say, well, I disagree with that, and we don't necessarily have to be in the same room. And if we have to be in the same room for whatever reason, we can just be respectful to one another and human to one another. um, because beyond ideas and philosophies, we're just um, at the core, at our essence, we're life manifested. So we're all the same. But life can be manifested in a flower, or it can be manifested in a tree, or it can be manifested in a dinosaur. That doesn't mean that one is better than the other, or that one is more precious than the other. It's just they're all equally marvelous and amazing. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. I like to end with a quote, so I'm gonna find a quote and then I'm just gonna end this. And yeah, I hope this is some food for thought, or maybe not. Maybe it's just you, you know, it's rubbish for you, which is fine. But yeah, I'll be right back in a second. So, what better way to end than with a quote by one of my favorites, Rilke? You will freeze in place if you remain this way. You must not, dear. You have to move. Um, isn't that an excellent, excellent quote for the topic? So, the only constant in this life is change, and and stillness doesn't exist in our universe, does it? And stillness is death, I guess, in a way. But then again, we could we could start right now another conversation about what is death actually. And I'm just gonna throw in a twist and say that death is um, you could think of that as the beginning of everything, actually, because um, it's basically returning to all potential. But hey, that's for a way more philosophical and existential episode. So I'm just gonna end it here. And I wish you all the best, and stay curious and dream on.